we talked to executive producers, and they were talking a lot about how excited they were working with your character.
Yeah.
Specifically because it was a cyclops.
Yeah.
As an actor, what did you do differently maybe to incorporate the fact that you only had that one vision?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think most of it was dialing in just to the relationships as I normally do. Past that, a lot of it was the physicality. It's like with one eye, you don't have depth perception. You don't have the same peripheral. And so when I'm walking, when I'm running, when there's danger, there's a lot more. I have to be a lot more careful, which is kind of like aware of my feet. Again, I'm playing a pretty large monster, and he's kind of like a little bit of a Great Dane puppy. He's kind of like finding his footing still, and so there's kind of that clumsiness to him that was a big part of the physicality. Outside of that, it was like, again, I think there's a certain amount of performance that was kind of tailored to knowing that it was going to look like a monster, so there's a little bit of exaggeration at points of kind of everything else to make sure that when you see the eye, it's supplemented by facial expressions. Past that, though, it was just like relationship kind of was the core of everything. So it was a really great experience in that, and luckily on the day, there wasn't anything that was getting in the way with prosthetics or kind of having to like look them in like at a specific like spot that you wouldn't normally have to. They made it really easy on me, so it's great.
It was always funny watching him like try to be uncoordinated because he is like very, very coordinated as Daniel. So like it's funny watching. He's like very aware of like where his body is, and watching him like when they say action, just completely like letting that like go and just like swinging his arms around and like attempting to like not be coordinated is always hilarious.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, what can y'all tease about your characters' dynamic with each other for this upcoming season?
I mean, there's not a lot to tease. It's kind of all, in the book, and I think we stay pretty close to that.
Yeah, definitely.
For the most part, yeah.
But I think, like off the top, it's very much like there's a certain awkwardness there. I'm so stoked to be there. It's like I get to have a bit of a home for the first time in my life, and so it's like everything's amazing. And Percy doesn't necessarily. I get kind of in his way a little bit, disturbed, especially with school. It's like, I don't think I make his life any easier, and so there's an awkwardness there. But again, over the period of the series, we find, I think, a lot of like respect for each other in completely different ways than we originally saw, and that kind of builds that relationship. So you have something really beautiful by the end that, hopefully the audiences don't feel too bad for him. Yeah.
I think the only difference is Percy's like a little bit less harsh on Tyson. I think in the book, there's a lot of points where he was just, he got very angry at Tyson. And I think it's kind of one of the only differences we made is that he, I think he's taken more, advice from Sally, to where he's not as mean to Tyson. You know what I mean? And that made me really sad because I love being mean to Daniel.
So for you guys having that kind of dynamic together, my question is kind of basically like, what advice would you guys have for, aspiring actors since, you have more years there than you're going in so young and doing it? Is there kind of like something advice that you've gotten, or maybe advice that you kind of learned over the time that you're doing it? And then, also the same that you might give somebody working with a younger cast or so?
Totally. Do you want to start us off?
I mean, I think it's really easy to get discouraged really early on, especially because you hear a lot of no, you know what I mean? And I think I'm very lucky because I, personally haven't. I think a lot of people have to do auditions in person. I live in Erie, Pennsylvania, so like I only done one in-person audition my entire life, and so I never really felt that, pressure of going into like a room where all these producers are staring at you, and you have to say your lines and remember them. And
it's terrible, by the way.
I know. I thank God every day that I never had to do that. Even the one I did, I had to sing, and that was enough for like 3 lifetimes. But yeah, no, it's you just have to keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like if it's something that you genuinely love, then it's worth it. I think if you're going in it for the fame or the attention, it really is really difficult. I mean, unless you find a lot of fame and money very, very early on. The work is expansive. Like if you're really trying to do a good job, and if you're trying to like make sure that you kind of respect the work that you're doing, and so I think you have to love it. I think it's really, really difficult to kind of do the profession if you don't. You spend a lot of time away from family, a lot away from friends. You're traveling a lot, you're alone a lot, and there's a lot of no's. But if you love it, the adventures that you get to go on, the people that you get to meet, I think it makes it really worth it. So I think when you're going in, it's just like find something about the craft that really gets you excited, dial in on that, focus on making sure that you're the best actor you possibly can be. And I think a lot of that comes down to like growing as a human being, like have experiences. I think it's really difficult to just act. I think there's a certain amount of like understanding who you are and how people work, psychology, sociology, that allows you to play more than just a single character. And I think that's what makes a great actor. And so I think a lot of that is just like, hey, be aware of the people around you, be self-aware. Ask yourself questions about how the world works, why people do what they do. And I think along the way, as you become a better actor, you also become a better human being. And I think that's kind of where it started off. Yeah.
100%.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.